Howdy, gang. And before we get started, I have been baking. You might be able to tell because I still have my apron on, but I've got to go turn the timer off real quick so it'll quit beeping. I guess I didn't pay attention and thought that it'd be a little bit before that timer went off. But I do still have my apron on. I still have a little bit of baking to do a little bit later after the watch along is over. And Steve's like, you're going to get tired. And I said, yeah, but dummy me waited until the 11th hour to get my Christmas treats together. And so it is what it is. So, I'm not having the discount right now. So, unfortunately, nobody took me up on the discount, the two discounts I had before Christmas, but never fear. I will be offering probably another discount around Valentine's Day. So, keep an eye out for that. Who knows, I may do a New Year's one. But also, you can place your order anytime at Deadites on Deck. However, I will not be able to guarantee delivery by Christmas now because it's past the deadline that I set for myself, and I thought that was a generous deadline. So you can still order, but there is no guarantee you will get it by Christmas. Now, Victor, he ordered bright and early, and he's already got his, and he seems to be happy with the product. Um, I'm not admonishing anybody for not getting in on that, but uh, I just want to let you know that it behooves everybody. If you want to get something from me, if you don't want to get something from me, it's fine. But there were ample opportunities for discounts and to get stuff by Christmas. And I can only assume that people just weren't interested or I'm not doing the right kind of advertising. One of the two. But again, you can still order at any time you want, just no guarantees you're going to get it by Christmas. Okay. Also, I offer custom work on the shop. So if you're not a horror fan, again, never fear. I can put your kids, your grandkids, your parents, aunts, uncles, the whole family, pets on t-shirts and tote bags and hats and even candles if you want. If you have a idea for a scent for a candle, get with me. I have this handy dandy form on the homepage of deaditesondeck.com. And you can fill it out. Tell me what you want. I will get back with you if I think that it's something I can do, which most things I can. And we'll quote you a price. And if we're all in agreement and you can send me the money, I will be glad to make that for you. Okay. So just because I'm a horror shop doesn't mean I can't do custom work for you. I've done all kinds of custom work for Candace, and she's liked everything that I've done. So I just wanted everybody to keep that in mind. But I don't want to take too long talking about this different stuff because I'm slowly losing people as I blab on about this stuff. They're probably like, geez, Louise, I don't care anything about your shop. I'm just here for a watch along. Either that or they're drive-bys. And they're just not interested in what I'm talking about. That could be another thing. So, we will be doing in a few minutes a watch along for Don't Open Till Christmas. I am going to be watching on the Vinegar Syndrome Blu-ray release. And I'm going to tell you in just a second where I'm queued up to. So that if you are watching along tonight, you know where to queue yours up at. Now, there may be a different version on YouTube. However, beware. There was a version a few years back, maybe 2-3 years back, that may still be on there that cuts out all the violence out of it. And it may bleep out the curse words, and it probably blocks out the nudity as well. So if you want to see everything intact, be very wary of which copy you pick on YouTube if you're watching it that way. Okay. If you have the Vinegar Syndrome Blu-ray, you'll probably be able to easily sync up with me. Now, it could be on Tubi as well. I would check there too. The chances of it being cut all to pieces on Tubi are very slim. So I just wanted to let you know about that. If anybody comes in here later, needs a timestamp, I will be glad to provide that for you. I didn't have anybody contact me, nor did I send out the link to anybody to see if they wanted to come on tonight live on the stream with me. However, if anybody does want to, just say, hey, Dana, I'd like to come on there with you, and I can get you the link. If you're my friend on Facebook, I can provide it to you privately. If not, or you don't have a Facebook, I can put the link in the main chat. The only caveat I have, the only ask I have, is that if you come on here live and you're live on camera with me, is that you behave yourself. And by that, I mean, don't be overly vulgar. Sometimes we say stuff, on here. We use curse words and stuff here and there. I'm not saying you got to be totally and completely clean. Don't harass me or anybody else in the chat. Uh, you know, all this stuff kind of goes without saying. But if you can do that, all those things, then you are welcome to stay on here. Now, if you tell me you'll do that and you come on here and you act like a jerk, I'll kick you and you will not come back. Okay? So that is not to be mean. It's just because I've had trouble in the past, and with somebody, when I used to put the link for all my streams in the chat. And I learned a very valuable lesson that I can't do that anymore because someone came on there and was doing naughty things on their camera. And thank goodness I did not add them. I know that happened years ago, but the chances of it happening again, it could happen again. And thank goodness, like I said, I hadn't already added them on the stream and noticed what they were doing before I just clicked add them. Okay. So this is not the place to do that kind of stuff, folks. If you want to get on here and you want to talk about the movie, that's groovy. If you want to have a sex free for all and be, doing naughty things on your camera, then this isn't the place to be. You need to go on chat roulette or whatever. But this isn't where you need to be. And heck, I don't even know if they have chat roulette anymore. I was never into that thing. And you may be wondering what I have. This is not alcohol. This is what they call boiled custard. I like it better than eggnog at the holiday or Christmas time. Some people might say, ew, gross, boiled custard, but it's actually really good. So you will see me sipping that. And I also may go grab one of my cookies here in a little bit. And sorry if I make anybody hungry, but I may have to have a little snack here in a little while. Okay, so we're going to soon be getting to this movie. So I have mine queued up 7 seconds in on the Vinegar Syndrome Blu-ray. And it's just got a black screen, and I've got my subtitles on because I can't play the audio because YouTube don't like that. Now, you can play the audio if you're not on stream with me, and it should be fine. You can play as loud as you can, as long as your neighbors don't mind. Um, but my subtitles say footsteps echo distant traffic. And I've got a black screen up here. And like I said, I'm 7 seconds in on the Vinegar Syndrome Blu ray. Okay. So I'm going to give everybody a couple of minutes, give you a chance to, if you're going to be watching along with me tonight, to get situated before we get this watch along started. Now, I also wanted to tell you guys and gals, if I don't have anybody on here with me for this live stream or this watch along, um, I will probably not stay on here too long after it's over. Just to let you know, because I do have some more baking to do. Okay, and I would like to try to get to sleep before midnight tonight. Let's see if I do that. But, if somebody wants to join me, then I'll stay on a little bit longer after the movie's over, as long as that person does or people do. I also wanted to remind you before we get started that because this is a live stream, technically, it's a watch along, it's a live stream. I am still offering the promotion where if you give a $5 super chat or more during this stream, you can throw your hat in the ring to pick one of the movies for the next watch along I do. Excuse me. Which it can be a Christmas movie, it can be a non-Christmas movie. It'll be your choice. If you give that $5 super chat or more, it's your choice. Okay. So if two people give a $5 super chat or more, each one of them gets, the first person will get Saturday's watch along, the second person will get Sundays. Now, if it's three or more, that's when I do a drawing. Okay. So, um, anyway, I'll give it about another minute and then we'll go ahead and get started with this movie. I was pleased to see that there were several people in here for the Black Christmas watch along and several people that watched it on the replay, almost 200 views. So thank you very much, everybody, for, if you didn't get to catch it when it was live, yes, people were definitely watching it on the replay. And I want to thank everybody that came in the chat last night as well. Russell was in here. Uncle Bill was in here. Chris was in here. Candace was in here. So I really, and a new person, Burley, was in here at least for a little bit, I noticed. And just because people weren't chatting didn't mean they weren't watching along. So that was nice as well. So, all right, we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to do the countdown and we're going to get started with the movie. So here we go. 3, 2, 1, press play. And we're seeing a guy dressed as Santa, and he must be cold because he's swinging his arms around, and his lady friend has shown up. I'm guessing it's his girlfriend. And they are headed to the car here. People might not like this movie as well as they did Black Christmas, but I find Don't Open Till Christmas fun as well. So these two are making out in the car, fogging up the windows and all that jazz. But we see, or we can hear, if you've got your audio going, there's some heavy breathing. I know this because I see the subtitles that tell me that. And the guy's noticing this person outside the car, and his woman's saying, forget about him. He's yelling at the person to go away. But obviously, the person's not going away. They're coming around to the other side of the car. So now he got out and was trying to get the guy to go away or the person to go away and got stabbed. And now the woman's panicking. Um, and she got stabbed too. Me and Steve used to joke that they got stabbed in the stomach, so it must have been Jason from Friday 5 because there were a lot of gut stabs in Friday 13th Part 5. And I always said this candle or whatever it is, um, or wax figure of Santa Claus did not look like Santa Claus. It looked like a drunk or something. And inside of this, we'll see that there's a knife, which is what is used as being the weapon for the kills in this movie. And this is being shown as directed by Edmund Purtle of Pieces fame. But it was only partially directed by Edmund Purtle. According to Joe Bob Briggs, there were 4 different directors on this. And me and Steve think that this guy here, that with the mustache and stuff, that looks like he's a little drunk, look like Dick Randall. And it may very well be Dick Randall. Dick Randall was a guy that produced a lot of these low budget horror movies back in the day. So we're getting introduced to some of the main 2 characters. Well, now we're going into a guy dressed as Santa Claus, and his daughter's coming in, and she's telling him he's got too much rouge and not enough eyebrows. And she says, here, I'll help you. And he says, I shall look like a gay old queen. And so the 2 main characters there are Cliff and the guy on the right, and Kate there on the left. So keep your eye on the shrunken head person. Cliff was actually talking about the person dressed as the shrunken head. He said it was putting people off their food. So um, something that's going to happen here very shortly. Um, keep in mind the first guy that got stabbed and killed was dressed in a Santa suit. Okay. And he's toast. So I've always said I don't know how Cliff couldn't see that there was nobody in that shrunken heads costume there. And this is the new Scotland Yard as opposed to the old Scotland Yard. So we're going to see Edmund Purdom. You're seeing his picture in the newspaper there. And there he is. So um, they're going to have to go over and visit Kate and Cliff because they're trying to figure out who's killing these people dressed as Santa Claus. Or finding out that Kate's father, the guy dressed as Santa Claus, was rich, extremely rich. And everybody loved him. So why would somebody want to kill him? I thought this was an odd little line. He's like, "Oh, the boys here too," and Pal says, uh, "Yes, he lives with her." It's like an odd turn of phrase, I think. So Kate's saying, my father had no enemies. And here's something else. I don't know why Sergeant Powell, is acting like he's blocking Cliff from coming in there. I mean, why would you have to do that? Another thing I noticed about this movie is it generally doesn't make you wait very long, but between each of the kills. Because this guy gets garroted, I guess you could say. And then his face gets put on he's a chestnut vendor, but he's also dressed as a Santa. And he gets his face burned off, and then his body caught on fire. That's lovely. So we're seeing a gift here that this motorcycle driver delivery person is delivering. And it says, "Don't open till Christmas." Steve joked when we did a commentary for this that, oh, it's the name of the movie on there. This is a kind of the housekeeper is very odd because she says here, she says, perhaps he'll show me some of the yard photographs on Wednesday. Now, I think I had heard, this movie for many people is a discombobulated mess because there were four different directors on here on this movie. And Edmund Purdom is listed mainly as the director. And I heard he was either fired or he just walked off the set, which he's also kind of, I mean, he's one of the big actors in this. So you take him out of the equation, not only as the director, but as one of the main characters, that's going to cause some problems. And so I had heard that there was maybe they were going in the direction of maybe the housekeeper having something to do with the murders in a certain way, and maybe that's why that line just seems out of place because it never went anywhere. In fact, you don't see that housekeeper anymore, I don't think. And that is the saddest looking Christmas tree. That looks like a Charlie Brown Christmas tree there. And Cliff seems like a little bit of a butthead here because he's not seeming to have any sort of empathy towards Kate. He just wants her to call this lawyer back because he seemed concerned about money. But we found out earlier that Sergeant Powell says Cliff's from a good family. Um, he never had to grow up wanting anything. And why he would be so concerned over money, I don't know. So now we're getting introduced to another guy, Giles, who is supposed to be a newspaper guy. And he's talking to Sergeant Powell, and he's like, you don't have a clue who or what you're looking for, right? And he tells him, to talk to Inspector Harris. That's Edmund Purdom's character. And this guy's like, you know, Sergeant Powell, would it help your promotion aspects if you were to solve this by yourself? So he tells him he'll be in touch. So, see, this is what I was talking about. We don't, because we know every time a guy in a Santa suit shows up, that usually there's a murder that happens. So here we go again. We're not. It's just like bam, bam, bam. One right after the other. This is pretty gory because this guy's brains end up out on the sidewalk, and we see that big gaping hole in his head. Now we're back to Kate, and there's Giles again. So Giles is trying to get some information out of Kate. He's going from a reporter's angle with this. And Kate's having none of it. She's like, Chief Inspector Harris told me not to say anything to anybody, and so I'm not. Oh, I want to remind everybody that I do have a virtual suggestion box up where you can add to the comments for the video and tell me if there's something that you'd like me to cover. It doesn't necessarily have to be horror. If you want me to cover a comedy movie or an action movie or or whatever, that is the place to put it. Um, if you've got ideas for uh, maybe watch alongs or something like that, even though I'm still doing the $5 or more super chat thing, you can still, suggest things. So we see that also that Cliff plays the flute out on street corners while Kate holds out a hat for people to put money in. And an old friend of Cliff's, Jerry, has shown up, and he's evidently Jerry's a photographer now. So Cliff is asking, are you doing porn with this camera? So they're at a bar or a pub, I guess they would call it in England. Um, and Jerry is telling Cliff, you and your girlfriend should show up a little bit later. And he's offering them a quick 50, which now that wouldn't be much at all, but back in 84 or whenever this came out, be that'd be a nice chunk of change. But I'm not saying that I would do anything like this, even for 50. And I'm not sure. I'm trying to remember if this actress, she may have been in adult films for real. So she was definitely comfortable taking her clothes off for the camera. So Cliff and Kate show up, and Kate is none too happy with this here. So we're just about 20 minutes into the film, and we've already had uh, about 4 deaths already. Um, the one before the opening credits, and then 3 more after that. So, like I said, this film does not waste any time. Now, some people may say, well, it probably slows down after that, which it does somewhat. But it's still, I think the pacing for as confused a production that this film had, it still has very good pacing in it. And oops. So he's got the Father Christmas outfit out, and Kate, you know, thinks they're obviously insensitive and rushes out. And you can see how easily Cliff is swayed to stick around instead of going after Kate. So Jerry's talking them into doing some street shots, and Sharon here is only interested in fooling around with Cliff here. And as promised, there's a little nudity right here, folks. And they see a couple of cops or bobbies, and Cliff's like, "Oh, they're gonna think we're a gay couple, you know." And I'm not trying to be offensive by saying that. And so he takes off, and Sharon takes off after him, and she's gonna run into the killer here, unfortunately, and we'll find out, is she gonna get killed or not? Because she does technically have a Santa or Father Christmas outfit on. And instead of the cops walking down this alley, they just like walk to the edge and then turn around and go the other way. Ah, and there is our killer. And some people might think this is a little goofy, um, the way the mask the killer has and stuff like that. But this is obviously meant to titillate the at least the male audience. But he doesn't stick around. He doesn't kill her. He just kind of turns around and goes away. And maybe because the cops are going to show up. Or maybe because he realized it was a woman and not a man, but he'd killed a woman earlier. And I don't know if he did that because he didn't have the mask on. He didn't want to have somebody recognize him or her. We don't really know right now. They always refer to him as a he. And she's angry because she's losing work because they're making her stay in her apartment or whatever. And he says, "You were arrested for indecent exposure." And she opens robe and shows them her boobs and stuff, and Sergeant Powell is eyeballing her up and down. She says, "Indecent." She says, "I'm a professional." So this movie does have some humor to it as well. And in some ways, Inspector Harris seems a little suspicious because he just up and leaves, like where, and she even says, "Where's he off to?" So he kind of left Powell to talk to Sharon here. So again, we have another man dressed as Santa going into a peep show, but this must have been the tamest peep show ever. We're going to see Miss Kelly Baker here, who, for those of you that have seen the film Slaughter High, you will have seen Kelly Baker in that as well. And Caroline Monroe, who was also in Slaughter High and many, many other films and was a Bond girl and all that, you will see her here in a short little snippet doing a song and dance number. Which I love Caroline Monroe, but that always seems so out of place. So we're getting Kelly Baker here, and like I said, this is the tamest. I mean, I've never been to a peep show, so I don't know, but I would imagine peep shows, even in England, would be this about the same as in New York. Um, the things on 42nd Street and stuff. Um, like in Nightmares in a Damaged Brain, when the killer goes into an adult venue and he goes into a peep show, there's obviously a lot more skin and sexual things going on than is here. Hey, Uncle Bill. You say, "Shit, I love this movie. It's an unsung classic." Well, Uncle Bill, you may not be able to tonight, but you would be welcome to come on here live with me because nobody else is taking me up on it. Or if you'd prefer, you can stay in the chat and I can talk back and forth to you that way. I think this is an unsung classic too. So, I mean, she's caressing herself and stuff like that, but she's not, it's not what I would imagine a peep show, an actual peep show to be. So she tells him, you want to see more, it's another 5, and then someone comes in there and kills this guy. Again, not very much time between killings. So Kate is still mad at Cliff about the night before. So Kate is kind of uh, is not happy about anything. I know me and Uncle Bill had a conversation about Olivia Hussey's character in Black Christmas last night. Um, that Uncle Bill was saying that Olivia Hussey, the Jess character, was bitchy and screaming and panicking and carrying on. Now, we see Kate here just before Inspector Harris shows up. And she's angry at Cliff because she thought that he spent the whole night looking for Sharon. And his hand's injured. And she said, what um, did her boyfriend come back unexpectedly? And he said, no, I was looking for Jerry. And yeah, she's mad at him because they took that girl outside. It's like, you must, you need to make up your mind. What are you mad over specifically? So now Cliff is like, I've been on the site for two of these murders. You're thinking it could be me. Now, we as watchers of this movie are probably thinking, nah, that's too obvious. That's an obvious red herring. Any of us that have seen enough of these movies know that it couldn't be Cliff. Or it could have worked the other way. He seems more innocent, so could be. Oh, that's okay, Uncle Bill. You say you got to prepare for exploitation, or you would. That's cool. Maybe you can join me on one of the later ones. So there's Giles again. He's showing up in Sergeant Powell's office, and so Powell's gonna bite here. He's like, "All right, Giles, what have you got for me here?" I don't know why, but that sweater shirt that Giles has on just seems like an odd fashion choice. And I got to tell y'all this because I was going back and listened to a little bit of the commentary that me and Steve did a couple of years ago or whatever for this movie. And the first time when Steve first saw this guy, whenever we were doing the commentary, he said, "This guy looks like the English David or the British David Hess." And I was like, oh my gosh, I never thought about that. But yeah, he kind of does. So Giles is telling Pal that he might want to tail Inspector Harris. We're not sure why he would want him to do that at this point. But Pal wants somebody to follow Giles for about half an hour and see where he goes. But I think Pal is watching Inspector Harris while he's got somebody else watching Giles. Because for some reason, all of a sudden, Pal is a little suspicious of Inspector Harris. Which, gang, I try to keep the Santa hat on as long as I can, but Sometimes there's only so long I can keep it on. Then I got to put my hair back. So I hope y'all don't mind. If you want to see me in the Santa hat, people can always run this back. Oops, hit my microphone there. So we're seeing a bunch of, I guess they're like punks on the street. And I guess that guy dressed as Santa on the bike has just flipped them off. And that made them mad. So they're chasing him. And this guy dressed as Santa is drunk as well. And I think this place he goes into is called the London Dungeon or something like that. And I have heard since finding out that that's what this is, that this place really does have all this very violent stuff in it. I guess it would be an interesting place if you were in the UK to visit. I think Darcy, the mail girl, had said that she went to the London Dungeon when she was in the UK. I mean, it would be interesting, but I was just like, "Boy, this place is bizarre." And I could be wrong, but that chick that just got her glasses crushed may have been in the adult film industry as well. So the guy in the Santa suit figures, I'm in here, I'm safe from the dog, I'm safe from those punks. And the punks took the bike he was on as well. But we can see that it appears that somebody's following the guy in the Santa suit around the London dungeon. And they're taking a weapon off the wall. But this, it appears to be a very sadistic, like almost like a wax museum. There's another weapon. Apparently, they got real weapons in this place. There's a guillotine that he unfortunately put his hand in for a second or two. I guess if you are inebriated or on drugs, this place would be a very frightening place to be. So, oh, that's a real body there. Oh boy, he got stabbed multiple times in the gut. So it appears that Cliff is jealous of Inspector Harris. So I think this is the point where we're going to find out that Inspector Harris has been suspended. Or maybe not. Maybe that's coming up. So now the cops are actually being sent out as decoys, dressed as Santas, to see if they can catch the killer. Well, he took one of them out, and this one got stabbed in the throat. And that guy got stabbed in the eye. That's lovely. We're seeing Cliff and Kate again trying to get money. And then Cliff sees Inspector Harris. So we're back to Kelly Baker, who Sergeant Powell is interrogating, and Sergeant Powell's getting irritated because the only thing these people can tell him about the killer is that his eyes seem to smile. So Sergeant Powell is wanting her to go back um, to her apartment, and he's wanting a police escort to take her there, and she's supposed to stay there under 24-hour guard, but she wants to get back to work. Well, they do show the housekeeper again. Okay. This may be the final time they show her. So Kate calls wanting to speak to Inspector Harris and gets a strange response from the housekeeper and says, this is the day he visits Parklands. And, she's like, well, Kate's like, do you have the number for that? And she's like, don't, if you talk to him, don't mention that I said anything about Parklands. I don't think you'll like it. And I've said too much already. And she says, give him a call at the yard this afternoon. and she looks rather concerned here. So Kelly Baker's character is back at work, and she's soon going to wish she didn't come back to work, that she um, went, you know, went with the cop and then, went back to her apartment because we're going to find out that the killer is there. So she knows his eyes, and he breaks through the glass and tries to get her. I don't know why the person working there, I don't know if he has killed that other person or what was going on. So it's right about at this point in the movie that most horror movies would not have allowed you to see who the killer is. Okay. And we're very shortly going to find out who the killer is, um, with less than an hour into the movie. Now, this is not a super long movie, right? So it still works. Because the majority of you may be able to figure out who the person is already by the voice, if you got the audio on, or by some of the facial features. So this is where we find out that Inspector Harris is off the case and been suspended. So here is here is Caroline Monroe's song and dance number here, and I think it's just because they wanted to put Caroline Monroe in the movie. I really do. So we have another drunk guy in a Santa suit, and meanwhile we got Caroline Monroe singing "Warrior of Love," her big song and dance number of the movie. There's a lot of glitter in her hair. No offense to Caroline Monroe, but evidently she's never done a song and dance number anywhere other than this movie. So she's about to see, yeah, this dead guy in the Santa suit. So Kate is going to tell Sergeant Powell that she telephoned Inspector Harris's home and he wasn't there, and the housekeeper said that he was visiting Parklands. And she says it's a lunatic asylum. So apparently, since there's no record of Inspector Harris, it's like he doesn't exist, then he must have changed his name. And you know, a funny thing, I was just thinking about this, is that Edmund Purdum's character of the Dean in Pieces also changed his name. So she actually goes to Parklands. And I don't know if a mental hospital would be willing to just let a member of the average public come in there and just start asking questions about somebody. We're back to Kelly Baker's character here. You can see this is a dirty guy. And we're going to see he's going to dress as Santa Claus here shortly. I guess he's going to take maybe the place of that guy, or maybe that, yeah, I guess that was him. So, um, and this is going to be one of the more grittier kills coming up here, one of the more gruesome kills. Because he's going to take a pee and somebody's coming out of one of the stalls. Oh, and looky there, they got a knife. Oh, he's done for, I think. But the lady that's cleaning up, she sees a dead guy with blood all over the place, and she doesn't even, she doesn't scream or anything. Kind of gasps and says, "Oh." So Kate shows up at Inspector Harris's apartment. I always find this kind of funny because Inspector Harris is it's like he's trying to be suave. It's like they're going on a date or something, or they're meeting up before a date. And now he says, fired. And then he says, well, suspended officially. Harris seems rather overjoyed that she's had a row with Cliff. So they're going to the Cafe Royal, however you want to pronounce it. So he tells her his name is Ian Harris. And Cliff comes there looking for Kate. But they won't let him in the restaurant because he's not dressed correctly. So, ta da! Giles has showed up. And if you haven't figured it out yet, Giles is the killer. And she's telling him, I saw Dr. Bridle today and that they talked about him. And we find out that Inspector Harris is Giles's brother. So we find out that they put Giles in Parklands. So he's saying, I thought I'd get my brother a real case to work on. And she's like, You killed my father. And he said, it was unfortunate, but he reminded me of Christmas time. And so Pal's calling Kate's apartment. And so she said, It might be your brother. And that's when Giles attacks her. He strangles her with some garland and then stabs her in the gut. Like he has most of the victims of this movie. So Pal's like, Come on, we better get over there. I guess there's no flattering way to die, but that's a very unflattering way that she's just laying there. So he's thinking that Harris did this, but Harris has been in his apartment all night. So we already know it's not Harris doing it. So we're clearly seeing Giles running from Pal here. So he has succeeded in taking Pal out here, which he seems very happy about. I don't know how crossing your fingers would would matter to a killer, but we see her clearly, promising him that she won't try to escape, and then a close up of her crossing her fingers. So obviously, this is making Giles distressed by her talking about Christmas time. And then she whacks him in the head. And then asks him for the key, which I think is this is ridiculous. Like the killer's gonna give you the key to get out. So he's told her that she's gonna die on Christmas Day. And she manages to escape. And we're in the final few minutes of the film. And a lot of people may have thought that the character of Kate was going to be the final girl, and we're seeing that it's definitely not going to be Kate, but it could possibly be Kelly Baker's character, Sherry. So it appears that Giles may be dead now. He fell from a great height, but we also, those of us that have seen a lot of these horror movies, know that this may not be the end for Giles. So let's see, shall we? Figured he'd look a little worse. I mean, he really fell from that great height. So we're going back in the past, and Giles, as a child, was seeing his father kissing someone that wasn't his mother at a Christmas party. And he does not like this lady. So now his father is dressed as Santa, and Santa's brought gifts. And there's Inspector Harris is the younger version of him. And little Giles is weird anyway, because he's gotten a Swiss Army knife, and it's like he's stabbing somebody. You know, it's like, what in the heck? What is wrong with you, kid? So now he's cutting on the Christmas tree. So there's his mother, and she's telling him, "You need to go up and go to sleep, Giles." And he opens the door to find that his father is messing around with the party whore, I guess. And the mother comes in to see this display, and the father evidently doesn't care about the mother at all. He knocks her down the steps. And we see that Inspector Harris is having a nightmare about it. Appears that he's having a nightmare about what happened when him and Giles were kids. We're not really sure. And that may be part of the confusing part of this movie, because there were so many directors and so many problems on this film that we're not really sure if Kelly Baker's character of Sherry survived or not. But Harris has decided he's, going to check out this present, and it's from his loving brother. Now, why he would go ahead and open this, I don't know. He should be suspicious of it, but apparently he's more curious than he is suspicious. It appears to be a music box. And instead of a little ballerina dancer, it has a little Santa that's twirling around in it. And he's thinking, oh, that's nice. I'm just going to go sit in my chair here. And an explosion happens from this. So, also, we don't know if that kills Inspector Harris or he lives too. So, um, not a bad little movie. Like me and Uncle Bill both said, we like it. We consider it a classic. However, it does have some flaws in it. I'm sure due to the troubled production on it. There could be a few things that were made a little bit clearer. Um, but overall, I think that this is a decent Christmas horror movie. It's definitely one that I watch every year around this time. Um, and I am going to let the credits roll. Maybe many of you will get to watch this on the replay. I know we're getting ever closer to Christmas, so I totally understand that people may be too busy to sit down for these watch alongs, but they may be able to watch them on the replay, which is why I'm so glad that I have the ability to have these stored on YouTube for you to watch at your leisure, and I hope that people will take advantage of that. But we have officially reached the end of Don't Open Till Christmas, credits and all. And so, since I don't have anybody currently in here right now, I think I'm going to call it a night and finish up my baking and try to get some rest for the upcoming work week. Um, but I want to thank Uncle Bill and everybody else who hung out for a little while and was watching along with Don't Open Till Christmas with me tonight. And I would also like to say thank you to the people maybe that were watching along that did not chat. Um, and for those that will watch this on the replay. And as always, I'm off like a dirty shirt. This shirt ain't dirty, and the apron might be a little dirty because I've been doing baking today, but I'm off like one. But before I get off here for the night, I want to remind everybody, as I always do, to be kind to one another and blaze that trail. And my extra little holiday message that I've been putting on the end of all of these streams and videos are trying to remember to do so. If you've been having this past year uh, disagreements or issues with friends or family members, now's the time, folks, to extend the olive branch, extend a kind word, extend some acts of forgiveness, because none of us are promised a tomorrow. And so, with that being said, I am out of here for the night, folks, but I'll see everybody next time. Merry Christmas, everybody.